Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in life when you realize that not everyone deserves access to your heart. Not everyone can handle your vulnerability, and most importantly, not everyone cares. Stop telling people your problems, because the truth is, most people don't really want to hear them. Half the people don't care, and the other half are glad you have them. Harsh may be true, absolutely, let's face it. When you share your problems, most people don't genuinely care. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's one of life's coldest truths. We often assume that opening up will bring us comfort, support, or relief. Instead, we find ourselves talking to people who are either too preoccupied with their own issues or simply uninterested in ours. The illusion of compassion can be strong, but the reality is that true empathy is rare. People are wired to survive. In most cases, their energy is focused on themselves, their families, their jobs, their stresses. When you walk into a room with a heavy heart, hoping someone will see the weight you carry, don't be surprised if no one notices, or worse, they notice and still turn away. The world is fast, demanding, and self-centered. Expecting deep concern from casual acquaintances, co-workers, or even some friends often leads to disappointment. Sometimes people may pretend to care. They'll nod, they'll say, "I understand," or even offer a few empty words of encouragement. But beneath the surface, their minds are elsewhere. They're not listening to understand. You're just background noise. Your pain is a momentary pause in their day, not a priority. And while they may act like they care, it rarely translates into meaningful action or lasting support. And then there's the darker side, those who secretly find satisfaction in your struggle. Jealousy, competition, or insecurity can turn your vulnerability into their private victory. They might smile in your face while internally celebrating your hardship. It's an ugly truth, but when you share your problems too freely, you open the door to people who mask cruelty with concern. Even those who do care often can't do anything. They don't have the emotional capacity, the wisdom, or the experience to truly help. They might offer clichés or vague advice, but they're not equipped to walk with you through the fire. And in some cases, their inability to help leaves you feeling more alone than before you opened up. Venting has become a normalized coping mechanism, especially in a world dominated by social media and oversharing. But pouring your soul out online or in every conversation doesn't guarantee connection. It can, in fact, breed more disconnection. People scroll past your pain, they double, tap it like a post and move on, and you're left more exposed, more misunderstood, and often more hurt. The truth is, emotional relief doesn't come from people acknowledging your problems. It comes from you finding the strength to face them. Seeking validation from others is a temporary fix for a long-term journey. When you stop expecting others to care, you stop being disappointed by their silence. You begin to build a relationship with yourself that's built on resilience, not reliance. Understanding that most people don't care is not about becoming bitter, it's about becoming realistic. It's about knowing where to place your emotional investment. It's about choosing wisely who you trust and understanding that not every listener is safe. Emotional maturity means recognizing that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. You don't have to carry bitterness toward others for not being able to show up for you. Everyone is fighting a battle you can't see. But knowing that most people aren't equipped to handle your darkness helps you become more selective with your light. It helps you protect your energy, and it teaches you to stop throwing your pearls before those who won't understand their value. Every time you open up to someone about your struggles, you're giving them a glimpse into your most fragile places. That's not a bad thing when it's with someone who's earned that level of trust. But when you overshare, especially with people who haven't proven themselves loyal or trustworthy, you make yourself unnecessarily vulnerable. You're placing parts of your soul in the hands of people who may not handle them with care. Vulnerability, when misplaced, can become a weapon against you. People can, and often do, use what you've shared to judge, gossip, or even control you. It's subtle at first, a comment here, a joke there. But over time, the things you said in a moment of trust can become the very things used to discredit or diminish you. What you saw as honesty, they saw as ammunition, Some people won't attack you directly. Instead, they'll store your vulnerability like a secret file, something to pull out later if it benefits them. In an argument, in a job opportunity, in a moment where they can gain the upper hand. It may not happen immediately, but when you've shown someone where you hurt, you've also shown them where to hit. And if they ever feel threatened, jealous, or resentful, they won't hesitate to strike. When you're vulnerable with the wrong person, they start to view you differently. Suddenly, you're no longer strong in their eyes. You're weak, broken, or unstable. And that shift in perception can change how they talk to you, treat you, and relate to you. They may no longer see your power. They only see your pain. And that's dangerous, especially in environments that demand confidence and composure. There's also a form of psychological imbalance that happens when you constantly share your struggles with others. It creates a dynamic where you're always the one in need, always the one with problems. That pattern not only wears down your self-esteem, but it can also breed resentment in the person you keep confiding in. People may start to feel emotionally burdened by you, even if they once cared. In some relationships, consistent vulnerability without boundaries can lead to emotional dependency. You start looking to others to soothe your pain instead of learning to manage it yourself. You become reliant on external validation or advice to feel okay. And when those people aren't available or interested, you're left feeling lost and helpless. That's not healing, that's avoidance dressed as openness. Vulnerability isn't weakness. In the right context, with the right people, it's strength. But when given too freely, too soon, or too often, it opens doors that are hard to close. Not everyone has your best interest at heart. Some people are curious, not compassionate. They want to know your business, not to help, but to feel superior or satisfy their own insecurities. And once your pain is out there, you can't take it back. People remember, even when you've moved on, even when you've healed, they still hold on to the version of you that was broken, and that version becomes your identity in their mind. It's hard to rewrite that narrative once it's set, especially if they shared your story with others along the way. Choosing not to share everything doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you're protecting your peace. It means you recognize that your vulnerability is a gift, not a giveaway. You decide who's safe enough to receive it. And you stop bleeding in front of those who secretly enjoy the sight. There is something incredibly powerful about keeping your life private. In a world that constantly pressures you to share every detail, choosing silence becomes an act of strength. When you keep your struggles, your plans, and your emotions to yourself, you create a sense of control that can't be manipulated. Your privacy becomes your shield. It guards your intentions, protects your energy, and preserves your peace. When you stay quiet about what you're going through, you take back the power to define your own narrative. No one can twist what they don't know. No one can sabotage what they can't see. The fewer people involved in your personal life, the fewer opinions, judgments, or unwanted energy you have to navigate. Privacy keeps your path clear and your vision focused. Every time you speak on something prematurely, especially your problems, you expose that moment to unnecessary energy. You give people a chance to analyze, critique, or even curse what you're still trying to understand yourself. When you stay silent, you give your situation room to breathe. You give yourself the mental and emotional space to process, heal, and move forward without interference. Privacy also creates an air of mystery, and mystery commands respect. When people can't read you, they can't control you. They're left to guess, to wonder, to observe without certainty. That distance can protect you from manipulation. People can't play games with someone whose moves are hidden. That alone makes privacy a strategic tool in relationships, business, and everyday life. In your silence, you become your own advisor. You begin to trust your own thoughts, your own gut, your own voice. You are no longer seeking outside input for every decision. That kind of self-reliance builds confidence. It builds inner peace, and it slowly eliminates the fear of judgment because your validation starts coming from within, not from the noise around you. A private life is a focused life. When you aren't distracted by the opinions of others, you get to focus on your growth, your healing, and your goals. You stop wasting energy explaining yourself. You stop entertaining people who are only around to watch, not support. And you begin pouring your energy into people and places that truly matter. Privacy also protects your spirit. When you guard your inner world, you minimize the emotional toll of being misunderstood. Not everyone will understand your struggle, your silence, or your process, and they don't need to. You're not obligated to make your pain digestible for others. You're not here to constantly explain why you're not okay. That's a form of emotional labor you don't owe anyone. In truth, privacy is peace. It's the calm in a chaotic world. It's the quiet power of knowing that not everything has to be said, posted, or shared. Some things are stronger in the silence. Some healing happens in the dark, away from the spotlight. And some of your greatest strength comes from knowing that your life isn't a story everyone gets to read. Pain is one of life's greatest teachers, but only if you're willing to sit with it, feel it, and learn from it. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to evolve into a wiser, more resilient version of yourself. When you experience pain, it pushes you to reflect, to question, and to grow. It strips away your illusions and forces you to see yourself and the world with sharper clarity. We often think pain is something to get rid of, to run from, or to offload onto someone else. But pain isn't a burden to be passed around. It's a message to be decoded. It shows up in your life to break patterns, reveal truths, and elevate your understanding. The discomfort is a signal. Something is out of alignment. Something needs to change, and that change starts with you. When you treat pain as a personal experience, it becomes sacred. It's no longer something you're ashamed of or desperate to escape. It becomes a part of your transformation. It teaches you patience, empathy, and emotional strength. You start to understand your own limits and push past them. You discover how deep your endurance really goes. And most of all, you begin to build a foundation that can't be shaken by future storms. Sharing your pain too early or too often can interfere with this process. The moment you start looking outward for someone to carry your pain, you interrupt your own healing. You dilute the lesson. You risk turning a personal transformation into public drama. And instead of gaining clarity, you gain confusion, mixed advice, and distraction. Growth doesn't always look inspiring from the outside. Sometimes it's messy, lonely, and raw. But in that space, you gain something powerful, self-awareness. You begin to recognize your patterns, your choices, your fears. And when you take full responsibility for your pain, you take full control of your future. You stop waiting for someone to save you and start becoming your own hero. The most powerful people are often the ones who suffered in silence, rebuilt themselves in the dark, and came back with a deeper understanding of who they are. They didn't broadcast their pain. They studied it. They didn't run from it. They wrestled with it. And what emerged from that process was strength, confidence, and a quiet type of power that doesn't need to be explained. Pain also refines your perspective. Once you've been through real suffering, petty things stop bothering you. You develop discernment. You stop entertaining chaos. You become more grateful, more grounded, and more intentional. It's not that you become emotionless. It's that you become emotionally wise. That's what pain, when faced alone and honestly, gives you. Not all growth is visible. Some of the deepest changes happen inside, where no one can see, where no one applauds. That's why pain is personal. Because the growth it produces isn't for public validation. It's for internal evolution. It's the private work that shapes your public power. Not everyone around you is there to support you. Some people are only in your life to drain you. These are emotional vampires, individuals who feed off your energy, your pain, and your vulnerability. They're not interested in your healing. They're interested in your bleeding. And the more you share your problems with them, the more powerful they feel. Emotional vampires often disguise themselves as good listeners. They seem concerned, attentive, even compassionate, but their intentions are not rooted in love. They're rooted in control, ego, or satisfaction. They collect your pain like currency, not to help you but to use it against you, to feel better about their own lives, or to maintain a toxic form of connection. Some of them thrive on chaos. The more problems you bring to them, the more important they feel. Your pain becomes their entertainment, your struggles fuel their drama. They're not offering real solutions. They're offering opportunities to stay relevant in your life. They want to stay close, not to lift you up, but to keep you dependent, emotionally low, and easy to manipulate. These people are often subtle. They don't always show their true colors at first. They may seem like they're helping, but their words are laced with judgment. Their support comes with strings attached. They bring up your problems later to make you feel guilty, indebted, or inferior. And by the time you realize what's happening, you've already handed them the emotional access they were craving. Protecting yourself means becoming more aware of the kind of people you confide in. Not everyone deserves front row seats to your battles. Not everyone can handle your truth with maturity or grace. Some people use your honesty as leverage to position themselves above you or to whisper about you when you're not around. You can't heal in spaces where your wounds are exploited. Energy is contagious. When you constantly vent to people who operate from negativity, bitterness, or jealousy, you absorb some of that darkness yourself. You begin to question your worth, second, guess your decisions, and carry emotional weight that isn't yours. It's not just about what they say. It's about how their energy lingers long after the conversation ends. The people you talk to during tough times can either help you rise or keep you stuck. Emotional vampires don't want you to grow, because if you grow, you'll outgrow them. If you heal, you won't need them. So they subtly discourage your progress, dismiss your dreams, and remind you of your failures more than your potential. That's not love, that's sabotage. You owe it to yourself to be selective, to protect your emotional space the same way you'd protect your home. Lock the doors of your heart when necessary. Keep your story sacred, and don't let anyone feed on your vulnerability just to fill the emptiness in themselves. Healing is a deeply personal journey, and sometimes the best way to heal is in silence. The world is loud, full of noise, distractions, and well-meaning but often unhelpful advice. When you're struggling, the last thing you need is the constant clamor of opinions, suggestions, or judgment from people who don't fully understand your pain. Healing in silence allows you to focus on your own process without external interference. When you choose to heal in silence, you create a space where your emotions can breathe without being scrutinized. You don't have to explain or justify what you're feeling to anyone. You give yourself permission to feel whatever comes up without the pressure of making it acceptable for others. This is important because healing isn't linear. Some days you may feel strong and ready to face the world. Other days you might be overwhelmed by grief or frustration. Silence allows you to experience your emotions fully without needing validation from others. By healing in silence, you also begin to strengthen your emotional resilience. You learn how to cope with pain without relying on external sources for comfort. It's easy to turn to others for sympathy or advice, but real growth comes when you confront your struggles alone. Silence teaches you self-reliance, showing you that you have the inner strength to overcome obstacles on your own. It's about finding peace within yourself rather than seeking it in others. Another key aspect of healing in silence is that it prevents you from becoming a victim of other people's projections. When you share your pain too openly, you allow others to project their fears, judgments, or biases onto you. Some may tell you to move on, others may question your decisions, and some might offer unsolicited advice based on their own experiences, not yours. Healing in silence shields you from these distractions, allowing you to remain focused on your own journey at your own pace. Silence also grants you the gift of reflection. When you're not constantly explaining your pain to others, you have the space to look inward. You can assess your actions, your choices, and the lessons your pain is teaching you. This reflection allows you to gain clarity and insight into your situation. Insights you might miss if you're constantly seeking external opinions. It's through this process of inner reflection that you can identify patterns, growth opportunities, and areas where you need to change. There is power in the quiet strength of healing on your own terms. While some might view silence as isolation, it is actually a form of self-care. It's a declaration that your healing is not up for discussion, not up for judgment. It's an assertion that you're giving yourself the space to mend without pressure from anyone. In silence, you set boundaries around your pain, making it clear that it is yours to navigate and no one else's to influence. When you heal in silence, you also learn to trust your instincts. You stop second guessing yourself, and instead, you begin to trust your intuition as a guide through the healing process. You learn to listen to the stillness within you, the wisdom that rises when you're quiet. This is where true healing happens, when you're no longer distracted by the noise of others, and you can hear your own soul's wisdom guiding you forward. Silence also allows you to protect your energy. The more you share your struggles, the more you risk giving away your emotional power. Vulnerability is important, but sharing too much too soon can leave you feeling drained. Healing in silence allows you to recharge, to focus on yourself without draining your energy on people who may not have your best interests at heart. It's about guarding your emotional well-being while you rebuild and restore. Healing in silence doesn't mean you're ignoring your problems or pretending they don't exist. It means you're taking ownership of your healing process. It means you're allowing yourself the space to recover on your own terms, without rushing to meet anyone else's expectations of when or how you should heal. It's about honoring your own timeline, protecting your emotional space, and trusting that, in time, you'll emerge stronger, wiser, and more whole. There is a unique kind of power in choosing to celebrate your victories in silence. When you achieve something significant, whether it's personal growth, a career milestone, or overcoming a challenge, you don't always need to announce it to the world. Celebrating quietly allows you to savor the moment without the pressure of external expectations. It's about finding joy in your accomplishments, not because of others' recognition, but because of the satisfaction that comes from your own efforts. Celebrating quietly also gives you the space to truly appreciate the process, not just the result. When you share your wins too loudly, the focus can shift to the praise you receive rather than the personal growth that led to that achievement. In silence, you can reflect on the journey, the sacrifices, the late nights, the challenges, and the perseverance. You can truly absorb the depth of what it took to reach your goal without the distraction of outside validation. Similarly, struggling quietly is a form of strength, not weakness. Everyone goes through difficult times, but not everyone needs to broadcast their struggles. Struggling quietly allows you to process your pain without the added burden of performing for others. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your hardships. You don't need to seek sympathy or support from the world to validate your feelings. Your struggles are yours to bear, and by handling them privately, you maintain control over how you face them. There's a certain dignity in quiet struggle. When you go through hard times without announcing them, you avoid the trap of feeling like a victim. You're not defined by your struggles or your pain. Instead, you become someone who perseveres through adversity with grace. It's not that you're pretending everything is fine. It's that you're acknowledging your hardships while choosing to face them in a way that empowers you. It's about showing up for yourself without needing others to witness your every step. Celebrating quietly also helps you avoid the temptation to compare your success to others. When you keep your wins to yourself, you remove the risk of someone else's judgment or jealousy. You don't have to worry about others questioning your success or downplaying your achievements. By celebrating in silence, you keep your happiness and progress private, protecting your peace from the influence of outside opinions. In a similar vein, struggling quietly helps you avoid external influences that can distort your perspective. When you overshare your struggles, you open the door to unsolicited advice, criticism, or even sympathy that can derail your healing. Some people may try to offer solutions to problems they don't fully understand, or worse. They may inadvertently exacerbate your pain by diminishing its significance. Struggling quietly allows you to stay focused on your own process without being influenced by people who aren't walking the same path. There's also a protective aspect to celebrating and struggling quietly. In a world where some people delight in seeing others fail, keeping your achievements and your struggles to yourself shields you from unnecessary negativity. Not everyone in your life wants to see you succeed, and some may secretly take pleasure in your pain. By keeping your personal journey private, you avoid giving them the opportunity to diminish or manipulate your experiences. Your victories remain pure, and your struggles remain yours to overcome. Lastly, both quiet celebration and quiet struggle reinforce the idea that your value is not contingent on external recognition. Whether you're winning or losing, your worth remains unchanged. By learning to celebrate and struggle privately, you build a sense of self, worth that's grounded in who you are, not in what others think of you. It's about developing a deep trust in yourself and your ability to navigate life's highs and lows without needing validation from the world. Understanding yourself is the first step toward personal growth. It's easy to get caught up in what others expect from you, or in what society tells you to be. But none of that matters if you don't first take the time to figure out who you truly are. Self-awareness is the foundation of a fulfilling life because it gives you clarity on your desires, your boundaries, and your purpose. It allows you to make decisions that are in alignment with your authentic self rather than what's popular or expected. The process of understanding yourself starts with introspection. It's about being honest with yourself, even when the truth is uncomfortable. You need to take a step back and reflect on your past, your actions, your reactions, and the way you navigate the world. What are your triggers? What makes you feel at peace? What drains your energy? These are the questions that guide you toward a deeper understanding of who you really are, rather than who you've been conditioned to become. Self-understanding requires you to tune into your emotions. Many people go through life ignoring or suppressing their feelings, thinking they're a weakness or something to be fixed. However, emotions are signals. They tell you what you need and don't need, what feels right and what doesn't. By learning to acknowledge and process your emotions, you can develop a clearer sense of who you are and what you truly want in life. Your emotional responses are a reflection of your values, your needs, and your beliefs, so they should never be dismissed. It's also important to recognize that understanding yourself is an ongoing process. You don't come to a singular, final conclusion about who you are. Life changes, circumstances shift, and you'll continue to evolve. Just as you wouldn't expect to understand a complex novel after reading only the first chapter, you shouldn't expect to have all the answers about yourself right away. Self-awareness grows with time, experience, and reflection, so embrace the journey of discovering new layers of your identity. Part of understanding yourself means recognizing your strengths and weaknesses without judgment. It's about seeing yourself clearly and accepting both the positive and negative aspects of who you are. We all have areas where we excel and areas where we need to grow, and that's okay. Self-understanding isn't about perfection, it's about acceptance. When you understand yourself fully, you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold and start living in alignment with your own truth. Your values also play a huge role in understanding yourself. What do you truly believe in? What principles guide your decisions and actions? Understanding your values allows you to navigate the world with confidence because you know what matters most to you. Whether it's integrity, compassion, independence, or creativity, your values act as a compass that helps you make decisions that are in harmony with who you are. When your actions align with your values, you feel fulfilled and at peace. Another aspect of understanding yourself is learning how to be comfortable with your own company. It's easy to distract yourself with external noise, social media, relationships, work. But to truly understand yourself, you need to be okay with solitude. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It's about embracing the quiet moments where you can hear your own thoughts, process your feelings, and check in with your inner self. Solitude provides the space to connect with yourself without the influence of the outside world. Self-understanding also empowers you to set boundaries that protect your energy. When you know who you are and what you need, you can clearly communicate your limits to others. This isn't about building walls, It's about ensuring that your relationships, whether personal or professional, are built on mutual respect and understanding. By knowing yourself first, you can decide what behaviors you're willing to accept and what you're not, preventing resentment and burnout. Ultimately, understanding yourself allows you to live with intention. You no longer move through life reactively, letting the circumstances or opinions of others dictate your path. Instead, you make choices that reflect your true desires, not what others expect of you. You set goals that align with your passions, not with what's popular or approved by society. Understanding yourself first gives you the freedom to live authentically, unshackled by the external pressures that so often cloud your judgment.